So we have defined the fact that there is a huge amount of geopolitical complexity in this area. And as part of that, I mentioned a lot of the names of the places we're talking about this semester. But let's go ahead and officially label them. So here's our map. And obviously there's a lot of land being shown here, a lot of countries. And most of them are not relevant to this region and this discussion. So we need to make sure that you're seeing the Russian domain and figuring out which parts are on the map, because we have to be able to show Russia. Remember how huge Russia is. It's 11 time zones. And that means to be able to show the entire extent, we have to show a huge amount of the northern hemisphere. But all of this down here, that's just because of this area we have to show. And you can basically ignore all of this down here. This is not relevant to the Russian domain. So where the heck is the Russian domain? Well, let's draw the southern border and the western border as well. We are going to start up here at what is basically the top of, here's the Scandinavian Peninsula, here is Finland. The border, the eastern border of Finland, is the western border of Russia. Okay, so we're going to start here way up near this body, very cold body of water, and draw a line down. You're going to go jog a little bit to the west here, okay, and then draw around Ukraine and jog up and over to this body of water here. Okay. Then you are going to scoop up that peninsula. You're going to draw a line along the northern border of that body of water. That, and then let me take that back away. And then you need to draw the southern border in this part of the region below these three small pieces. Okay, so you need to draw the line along Turkey and along Iran. So that is what that's going to look like. So you're going to scoop up that peninsula, go along the north coast, and then cut through this narrow strip. Then you are going to move along the west coast of this body of water, and then you just need to go up to that border and then follow that border across, because that is the southern border of Russia. So like that. So everything to the north and to the east of this line, that is the Russian domain. Down here, all of this, there's China, there's India, here's the Arabian Peninsula, right? That gives you the context, but you don't need to worry about those places for this region. All right, now that I've tried to avoid saying names, let's go ahead and label things. Okay. First, the body of water that is to the north, that is the Arctic Ocean. It forms our northern border here. So we've got the Arctic Ocean. There's 3 more bodies of water to get familiar with. This one we have already labeled with our discussion of Europe, and that, of course, is the Black Sea. Remember that it looks like a bean. This body of water we've talked a little bit about, but we haven't officially labeled it. That is the Caspian Sea. And we need to make sure that you know that this one's the black, that one's the Caspian. How do you keep them straight? Well, there's a couple different mnemonics. You can remember that they are in alphabetical order, black, Caspian. So you can remember it that way. I remember, right, that this is a bean shape. The way I remember that this is the Caspian is I think it sort of looks like a little dude. I think it looks like a guy with a face. Here's his nose, and he's wearing a weird little hat. And so I think of him as Prince Caspian. And so, you know, the character from the Narnia books. So that is how I remember that is the Caspian Sea. All right, so the Arctic Ocean is the biggest. Then we've got the Black Sea, the Caspian Sea. Those are large bodies of water. Where the dividing line exactly is between a sea and a lake is pretty nebulous. But the last body of water is significantly smaller than these 2 bodies of water. And it is over here in the southern part of Siberia. It is directly north of Mongolia. That is where we are now. And that is Lake Baikal. Lake Baikal is a fascinating place. We will talk about it in the physical section. And it has a whole bunch of what are called superlatives. Superlatives are things like, you know, the deepest lake, the longest river, that kind of thing. Lake Baikal possesses a number of superlatives. Okay. So there's our bodies of water. Let's label a couple more things here, kind of landforms. We have a narrow strip of land here that is between the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea. That is the Caucus region. This is a region that is geopolitically complex. It is very, very mountainous. This is where Caucasian people are said to have come from. That's where that name comes from. And this is also where we think the Indo-European languages first evolved, that ancient proto-language. All right, now countries. All of this, all of that is all Russia. So the big one we have labeled. Now, oops, that got moved. Hang on just a second. Let me move that box back. Oh, hang on. Give me just a sec here. Okay, there we go. All right. Let me need to run through that real fast. All right. There we go. Okay, sorry about that. This is an area that I'm going to zoom in so that you can see things a little bit more clearly. Okay? So here again is that line that we drew to show the borders of the Russian domain. Let's start over here with this. It kind of looks like maybe it's a dog, right? Here's the dog's back, there's the face, or like a squished cube. Sorry, before we get to that one, the Crimean Peninsula. We talked about that before when we were talking about Europe as well. So there is the Crimean Peninsula, this little diamond-shaped thing pushing into the Black Sea. Okay, well, see, I had things out of order. All right, so we'll do the largest country after Russia in the Russian domain, because the Crimean Peninsula is actually part of this country. At the moment, it is controlled by Russia. We'll get to that in geopolitics, but it had been and is still legally part of this country, and that is Ukraine. And you might see places where it is referred to as the Ukraine. That is an old way of talking about this area. Ukraine is said to have meant like borderlands, that kind of thing. And so saying the Ukraine was saying the borderlands, but they prefer to be called just Ukraine. However, as I was learning things originally, it was still called the Ukraine, so I may slip up sometimes. All right, so there's Ukraine. Now is the one that kind of looks like a dog or a squished box. That is Belarus. And notice that this root here, Rus, is the same as Russia. Russia has Rus as well. That is a culture and a group of people who lived in this area. All right, we've got a small little country tucked into the curve of Ukraine here. It sort of looks like a pork chop. That is a country called Moldova. It is small, it is fairly poor, but it has some interesting economic crops that we will talk about when we get to Moldova. Okay, then we are going to zoom into the Caucasus region. And we are going to enlarge that so you can see that more clearly. And here again, I have made our southern border, that dotted line. Okay, so here in the Caucasus region, the country that has a coastline right along the Black Sea, that is Georgia. Yes, it's the same name as our state. Obviously, they're different. They were both named after Georges, but not the same George. So we've got Georgia in that area. Then we have this kind of like flower shape, and that is Azerbaijan. But Azerbaijan actually has two pieces. There's a chunk of Azerbaijan that is separated by another country. That's called an exclave, and we'll talk more about what that means. But there is this chunk that is right here, and I know it's hard to see on this map. It's a little bit easier to see here. So here's Azerbaijan, and then this piece that is the same color, that is the exclave of Azerbaijan. Excuse me. What separates them is a separate country, and here it is in the blue. That is Armenia. So there are the countries that you need to be aware of and the bodies of water. And we're going to stop here, and then we will come back and talk about some cultural patterns.